court, but actual outdoor clay in Madrid, she crumbled in slow motion. Eala enters carrying something almost opposite, a clay record that reads more like a cautionary tale than a resume, except that the last 72 hours in Rome have rewritten the opening chapters. Let's talk about what Eala has actually accomplished here. She bageled Magdalena Freck in the first set of her opening match. 6-0. On clay. A surface where her career WTA record before this tournament read like a losing ledger. Then Freck adjusted, took the second set, and Eala had to close out a 6-4 decider, the kind of grinding finish that demands exactly the mental stubbornness she spent 2 years building. In the second round, she faced Wang Xinyu, a player who beat her in the Auckland semifinals just 4 months ago, a seeded opponent ranked 31st, and she won in straight sets, 6-4, 6-3. Not by accident. Not by Xinyu playing poorly. By actively dictating after going down 0-3 in the opener, winning 6 of the next 7 games, and then never looking back. That 3-0 deficit and the response to it tells you more about where Eala's head is right now than any statistic could. The old version of Eala on clay would have let that early break run compound. She would have tightened her grip on the racket and watched the set drift away. The version that showed up in Rome found a different gear inside the trouble. But here's what we need to be honest about. Rybakina is not Wang Xinyu. Rybakina is not Magdalena Freck. Rybakina is not Elise Mertens, who dismantled Eala 6-2, 6-1 in Madrid just 2 weeks ago. Rybakina represents an entirely different category of problem, and the specific nature of that problem has everything to do with how tennis matches are structured in their opening moments. The title of this discussion asks whether Eala can shock Rybakina in the first 30 seconds. That phrasing isn't random. It gets at the single most important tactical reality of this matchup. Rybakina's serve is the most dangerous opening weapon in women's tennis right now. She averages over 7 aces per match this season. Her first serve speed consistently touches 190 kilometers per hour. She won 73% of her first serve points in 2026. And when she takes that first set, when she establishes that serve rhythm early, her record at WTA 1000 events is 24 wins and 2 losses. Those 2 losses came against the eventual champion of the tournament in both cases. So the arithmetic of this match is cruel but clear. If Eala lets Rybakina settle into her service games unchallenged through the first few games, the pattern becomes almost irreversible. The serve feeds the confidence feeds the serve, and the scoreboard accelerates away. The 30 seconds that matter aren't literally the first 30 seconds of clock time, they're the first return game. The first time Eala stands on the deuce side and watches that ball come at her at a speed she has never faced from this specific opponent. Now here's where it gets interesting for anyone who follows Eala closely. She is left-handed. This matters enormously in the return game. A left-hander's forehand takes the ball naturally on the ad side, which is the side where most right-handed servers direct their biggest first serves, out wide in the deuce court, into the body on the ad side. Eala's geometry on return is different from 90% of the opponents Rybakina has faced this year. The angles she creates off the return, particularly the cross-court forehand return from the ad side, can pull a server wide and open the court in ways that a right-hander simply cannot replicate. Does this mean Eala's return game is elite? The numbers say yes and no simultaneously. Her return game's win percentage on the season sits at about 35%, which is respectable for a player ranked in the 40s. But against top 20 opponents specifically, she's shown flashes of genuine return dominance, the kind that made her dangerous enough to reach the Miami semifinals last year. Against second serves especially, Eala has been lethal. She wins nearly 58% of second serve return points over the past year, which places her among the more aggressive returners on tour. This is the paradox Rybakina will have to navigate. Her own serve, when it lands, is among the most unreturnable in the sport. But her first serve percentage this season has hovered around 60%, meaning 40% of the time, she's offering a second serve. And her second serve is substantially less weaponized. Against a left-hander who attacks second serves with that forehand, the margin between a comfortable hold and a contested hold narrows. Let me bring in the Madrid loss again because it illuminates something specific. Against Potapova, Rybakina wasn't beaten by power. She was beaten by disruption. Potapova played an unpredictable, sometimes chaotic match, and Rybakina, who had been escaping tight situations all week, simply ran out of composure at the worst moments. She served for the set and couldn't close. She led 4-2 in the second and couldn't maintain. The question for Sunday isn't whether Eala is better than Potapova in some abstract sense. It's whether Eala can create enough early disruption to trigger that same vulnerability. And look, this is where I want to be careful. The honest answer is probably no. In most versions of Sunday, Rybakina serve fires cleanly. Eala struggles to manufacture return pressure because the ball is simply arriving too fast, and the match follows the pattern of Rybakina's demolition of Sakkari, 6-4, 6-1. Sakkari won just 4 of 18 first serve points in the second set of that match. 4 of 18. That's what Rybakina's serve can do to an experienced, former top 3 player when it's running hot. Eala has to reckon with that possibility. But the honest answer also includes this. Eala has nothing to lose and everything to discover about herself. She is already in unprecedented territory. She is the first player from the Philippines to reach the third round of a WTA 1000 event on clay. She would become the first Filipino player, man or woman, in the Open era to reach the round of 16 in Rome if she wins. That historical weight cuts both ways. It can freeze you with the magnitude of the moment, or it can liberate you from expectation because you've already exceeded what anyone thought possible 2 weeks ago. Think about what her clay season looked like before Rome. She lost to Ostapenko and Linz after a decent opener. She got demolished by Fernandez in Stuttgart, 6-1, 6-4. Then Madrid happened. Mertens took her apart 6-2, 6-1 in a match where Eala looked physically present but tactically absent. 3 losses, 2 of them humiliating. If you had asked most analysts whether Eala would win 2 matches in Rome, most would have said unlikely. To win 2 matches, including one over a seeded player, in straight sets, while coming back from 0-3 down. Nobody predicted that. So the clay development is real. Something changed between Madrid and Rome. Her coach made adjustments. Specifically, Eala has been constructing points with more patience, using her slice backhand to change the rhythm, and waiting for shorter balls rather than trying to force winners through a surface that punishes flat hitting. Against Freck, you could see her extending rallies deliberately, playing 2 or 3 extra balls before looking for the angle. Against Wang, she was more aggressive, but the aggression was built on a foundation of patience rather than desperation. That's a meaningful technical shift. The question is whether that shift holds against Rybakina's power. Because here's the tactical nightmare: Rybakina doesn't let you construct points. Her serve generates free points or short rallies. When she's returning, she takes the ball early and redirects with pace that shortens the rally from the other side. The average rally length in a Rybakina match is among the lowest on tour, not because she can't rally, but because she chooses not to. She chooses to end things quickly. For Eala, this actually might be less hostile than it sounds. One of her clay court problems historically has been long rallies where she gets drawn into patterns that expose her footwork deficiencies on the dirt. The ball sits up, the opponent runs her wide, and she gets stuck behind the baseline playing defense. Against Rybakina, the rallies will be shorter. The points will be more explosive. And explosive, fast twitch tennis is actually closer to Eala's hard court identity, the identity where she's won 16 matches this season, reached quarterfinals in Dubai, and accumulated the most wins by a left-handed player in 2026. So in a strange way, playing the world number 2 might suit Eala better than playing a clay court grinder. That's counterintuitive, but analytically sound. The problem isn't the style matchup. The problem is the serve. Let's talk specifically about what has to happen in the first 3 games for Eala to have any chance. Game 1, assuming Rybakina serves first, Eala needs to make returns. Not winners off the return, just make Rybakina play a second shot. If she can force even 2 or 3 deuce court rallies in that opening service game, she's communicating something. She's saying, I'm not going to give you free service games. I'm going to make you work. Rybakina's response to that communication matters enormously. If she escalates, goes for bigger serves, more risk, that's where errors can creep in. That's where the Potapova template applies. Game 2, Eala's first service game. And this is where reality gets harsh. Eala averages less than 1 ace per match this season. Her serve is functional, not threatening. On clay, where the surface slows the ball, her serve offers Rybakina easy looks on return. If Eala gets broken in Game 2, the match likely follows a predictable trajectory. She needs to hold comfortably, not just hold, but hold without burning excessive energy to keep the early game psychology balanced. Game 3. If the score is 1-1, this is the moment. Rybakina's second service game is psychologically revealing. If she's held easily in Game 1 and broken Eala or pressured her heavily in Game 2, she'll relax. But if the first 2 games have been contested, if there's been a deuce or 2, if Eala has shown aggression on return, then Game 3 becomes the hinge. Rybakina will either sharpen her focus or begin to press. That pressing is what Potapova exploited in Madrid. None of this is guaranteed. Rybakina could come out serving at peak efficiency and make the entire discussion irrelevant within 45 minutes. That's the most likely outcome, and I want to say that plainly. The betting markets, the rankings, the season records, everything points to a Rybakina victory. She is 7-2 against top 10 opponents this year. Eala is not a top 10 opponent. The gap between them on paper is enormous. But paper doesn't account for 3 things. First, Rybakina has never faced Eala. There is no head-to-head, no scouting familiarity, no shared history of how their games interact. Rybakina will be adjusting in real time to a left-hander's angles, to the specific spin and trajectory that Eala's forehand produces, to movement patterns she hasn't drilled against in practice. Second, Rybakina's outdoor clay form is genuinely shaky right now. She won Stuttgart, yes, but that was indoor clay, a faster surface that plays closer to a hard court. On actual outdoor clay in Madrid, she needed 3 sets against Elena Rybakina, ranked 71st. She needed 3 sets against Zheng Qinwen. And then she lost to Potapova. That's not the form line of a dominant player. That's the form line of someone who is talented enough to win on any surface, but not yet comfortable enough on this one to dominate. Third, Rybakina historically struggles in Rome specifically. Before this week's win over Sakkari, her record in third-round matches at the Italian Open was 1-3. She's reached the round of 16 only once before. Rome's slower clay, the later scheduling, the longer rallies compared to Madrid, this venue has not historically rewarded her game the way other stops on the calendar do. So here's where I land on this. Can Alex Eala shock Rybakina? Yes. Is it likely? No. The window is narrow, and it requires very specific conditions. Eala must return well in the first 3 games. She must hold her own serve without leaking early breaks. And she must get Rybakina into enough extended rallies to prevent the serve +1 pattern from becoming automatic. If all 3 things happen simultaneously, we get a match. If any one of them fails, we get a straight sets Rybakina win in under 70 minutes. What I keep coming back to is this. Alex Eala is 20 years old. She comes from a country where the nearest professional tennis infrastructure is an ocean away. She's playing in the 3rd round of a WTA 1000 event on clay for the first time in her career, and she got here by beating a seeded player in straight sets. Whatever happens on Sunday, the trajectory is pointing somewhere significant. The question isn't really whether she wins this particular match. The question is whether she competes in it, whether she demonstrates, point by point, that she belongs on the same court as the second-best player in the world. For Filipino tennis fans watching at 4 in the afternoon on a Sunday, the magnitude of this moment doesn't need explanation. You know what it means to see that flag next to a name on a WTA 1000 draw sheet in the 3rd round. You know what Eala has already accomplished just by being here. And you know that whatever happens when